What it do, folks? What it do? Had to look and see what day it was. March 29th. Shouts out. Welcome to Team No Sleep, Social Impact of Sport. Montel Allen is over there to my side. How you doing, brother?
Man, blessed, man, as usual. Just, taking in everything.
Yeah,
Excited about this hump day. Excited about this show.
yeah,
Excited about
yeah.
the people to tune in and listen. Please
Man,
tell a
listen,
friend.
it's going to be a show tonight. It's going to be a show tonight. We're gonna have a lot of conversation. Let me go ahead and welcome. See, now the show can officially begin. Senior is here, sir. Love it. Thank you very much for being here. Tell someone to come join the conversation that because we gonna get into some things tonight, and I was real apprehensive, right, about again the tone of some of the shows that we've been having. Unfortunately, over the past couple of weeks, have been very similar. I've been either gun violence, they've been either domestic violence, they've been either that's pretty much been the majority, unfortunately, again of the topic matter and the subject matter we've been going into. And this week is again, unfortunately, no different. First and foremost, we want to give, and again, I don't like saying it. I don't like leading with thoughts and prayers, but let's talk about Nashville, right?
Mhm.
Let's talk about these individuals, these kids that we lost, because we lost four kids, right? The shooter,
Yep.
consider the shooter to be a kid as well. So we lost four kids and we lost three adults at this senseless event down in Nashville. I don't know, man. It was I don't know if it was something that someone could have seen. I don't know if someone could have preempted the incident, right? The person was kind of a loner, was kind of by themselves. Their mother saw them leave the house with a large bag. Didn't ask them what the bag was. And again, your kid leaves the house. You're not gonna ask them all the time. What you got in the bag, that kind of thing. But walked out of the house with a big duffel bag, and come to find out it was a whole bunch of weapons and artillery. So I'm not even going to ask you how you feel and what you think about this story, because I know how you feel and what you think about this story, man. But again, it's unfortunate we got to start and lead with something like this one more time. So
A- Absolutely. I think first and foremost, like you said, our prayers go out to the victims and their families and everybody affected by what happened with this incident.
yeah,
um, we're in a state of emergency, and we keep telling everybody every week we're in a state of emergency. The time we step out of the house, our families are not safe anymore.
yeah,
There is no off limits. There is no, hey, it's a child. Those all those barriers and boundaries that people used to kind of consider that were kind of not the norm when you do these type of things. They're the norm now. I mean, this is sad, man. And
yeah,
I mean, I heard Biden's speech, and it's sad. That's
yeah,
sad. He has to beg Congress to pass a law to ban assault weapons. We got to beg. We have to beg them to ask them to do this, and that in itself is sad. We have mass killings at elementary schools now and high
hmm
schools. I
and so
mean, we've
I mean,
done what
even the types of schools have changed, and I hate to interrupt you, but again,
yeah.
so this is a private Christian school, right? So again,
Hmm.
you wouldn't expect it to be there, and you don't expect it to be anywhere. But again,
Yeah.
when it happens at a private Christian school in, I don't know if it's the middle of nowhere, but Nashville, and you end up losing children, and you end up losing administrators and adults like this to one of their own, because I believe the individual may have gone. They said there's a case that they may have actually gone to the school earlier on, but yeah, this is just
Well,
this is no good. Nothing good of this is all.
this the part this annoys me because we got to peel deeper and peel the onion back a little bit deeper. This person bought 7 registered guns, right, in that
Hmm.
county. That's what it was documented. Why, with all the technology we have, why aren't the police flagged when some incident like this happens? There should be enough technology when people are buying registered guns, especially when it's abundant and it seems like an odd pattern. Why? How come local police are not, alerted with this situation? That's for one. Congress don't have to pass. Hey, we don't need you to pass. Stop making assault rifles, but come up with a solution to help us be, police and people to be aware that these situations could possibly happen, so we can get
Yeah.
them before they even happen. If that would have been alerted to the police before it happened, hey, this person bought 7 assault guns within the last 7 guns in the last 2 months. that should prompt police to go stop by that person's residence and say, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
We got an alert that, hey, you bought 7 guns. What is your intent?
Yeah.
Why are you buying 7 guns?
Yeah, right. Again, right. Think about that. Yeah, they bought them legally, but why does a 27, 28-year-old needs seven weapons? All right. I mean,
Why does
again,
anybody?
right. I mean,
Why does anyone?
just think about that. Just throw a flag up. Just stop by the house and just say, what you doing before you buy that third one.
Yes.
what do you do for a living? Let's run some deeper background checks. Not trying to take anyone's
But
rights away. Don't want to turn this into a political
nope.
conversation. I saw McCarthy talk about, hey, I need to see all of the evidence before I move on the gun.
He's an idiot,
Legislations
man.
come up,
He's an idiot.
and I don't want to get into the political side, but yeah, I don't feel like McCarthy as well. But man, after you buy the third one, right? Say something.
You're being too nice. After you buy 2 within a month, what's going on? What's going on?
I'm trying to find common ground, which I know is not unfortunately going to be there. And here's the thing: it's not going to change.
Well, it's not going to change
until one of these incidents happens at one of these lawmaker schools. One of these
I don't even. I mean, schools. Yeah, I think that's true. But I'm saying, I'm not trying to infringe on your right to bear arms. Okay, you don't want to. That's your constitutional right to bear arms. I'm saying, with technology the way we have today, why are police alerted when you buy guns like this?
Yeah,
the guns have to come to a residency, and you have to apply for it. So police should be. It should be some type of technology that says, boom, flag up. Somebody these guns have been bought. It should go to the local police force and the FBI or whoever there, saying, hey, this person, there's a pattern here. This person just bought 2 guns in the last 2 months. That should alert police to say, let's go by there and let's do a courtesy knock by the neighbor and go. That'll do 2 things. That'll deter. I think that'll deter the crime big time, right? Because they know police are watching. That's number 1. 2, the fact they can probably do an intervention before this even happens if somebody alerts them that this is going on. This person, I'm sure it could have been stopped or been derailed or something. If that would have been an alert to go to the police, police would have drove by the house before it happened, interrogated the person, asked them questions, and then they can come to a conclusion what's going on. That will stop this. And I'm not saying you can't bear arms. I'm saying we need to have a new technology in place for when people do these types of things, that local police can be alerted, and they need to be forced to go ahead and have a drive-by to that person's house and interrogate that person.
Yeah.
That will interrupt whatever the plans are going to do, right? And they can maybe figure it out. I'm not going to say it's going to stop every crime, but I guarantee you right now, if the police feel like there's something fishy, something going on, now a watchful eye is on that person, and that person knows a watchful eye is on him. So that way their plans have to change. I mean, there's got to be something done, and obviously they're not going to take away guns.
Hopefully sooner than later, again, before something like this happens. And again, one of these lawmakers, I really think, unfortunately, that that's going to be the deterring factor, right? Then everyone's going to get off of their hands when something happens in DC, or something happens at one of these lawmakers' kids' schools, and then they're going to say, oh no, we got to stop this, or we got to put some more oversight on. Again, why do you need 7 guns? Why at 28, when your job, and I'm looking at, I'll bring the picture up of the individual, Audrey Hale, was an illustrator and graphic designer based out of Nashville, Tennessee. Why, as an illustrator and a graphic designer in the IT field, at 28 years old,
need 7 guns? Does
this person right here need 7 weapons?
And I already told you, I'm tired of the mental health escape, right? I'm tired of that. I'm sure the person was probably going through some mental health because they talked about it. But if you're sane enough to be able to order guns, purchase guns, load a gun, put it in your car, drive to your destination, get out, you're not insane at that point. Those are sane decisions that you make.
Yeah, much respect to you, Laura, for putting that statement out there about mental health has to play a role here. True, but again, we can't put every one of these situations in that same bucket, because then it almost seems like a scapegoat, right? It almost seems, it's from my perspective.
It's an excuse every time. Oh, they had mental health issues. As far as I know, we all got mental health issues, right?
Yeah,
every last one of us.
Yep.
Every last one of it. Now it's how you process and deal with it. I'm not saying a person doesn't need help. I'm not saying the person's not crying for help, but I'm saying I'm tired of that being the scapegoat. This person was sane enough months before to order guns. They were sane enough when they went to Walmart or wherever they went to buy their guns. They were sane enough to go in there. They were sane enough to fill out the paperwork. They were sane enough to put to purchase the money down. They were sane all the way up to that point. Just because you have a different feeling or irrational feeling in that saying doesn't necessarily say, hey, there's a mental health issue. They're not processing it right, and maybe that is a mental health issue, but that doesn't give you the right or the excuse to go off the deep rail and go kill kids at all. So I'm sorry. I know this person was going. I'm assuming. My assumption is this person was going through some type of identity crisis because they were transgender, if I'm not mistaken, right? This
Correct.
person was a transgender.
Correct. And that was a question here, and I was going to bring that into the conversation about this story that I got up here right now. But I want to before we move on, Matt Haas, appreciate you for being here, man. And he was questioning the fact what you're proposing: a cop visit the home to see what's up if 2 guns are purchased. I think the statement and the comment that we're making again, 28, 29-year-old has 7 weapons. And there's got to be a threshold. There's got to be a number that says, why does this person who's in this particular field, again, they're illustrator and they were illustrator and graphic designer based out of Tennessee. Why does that person need to have seven guns? Something should have triggered. There should have been a flag. There should have been a DMV search. Something should have had somebody come and figure out what in the world and why. Now, again, not infringing on anyone's rights, but again, there could have been, should have been. We can Monday morning quarterback this all we want to, but I don't know if it's 2. I don't know if it's 3. I don't know if it's even the first one.
But
I'll let you kick in. I'll let you kick in.
Yeah, but like I said, not infringing on anyone's right. I'm saying we need to be nosy as a society. We're nosy already with cameras everywhere. Yeah. To answer this question, we need to be nosy. If someone purchases 2 or 3 guns within 3 months, a police officer needs to courtesy somebody and say, what's going on? Why do you feel you need 2 or 3 guns? What is the purpose of you? What is the purpose of you purchasing those guns? Blah, blah, blah. To make sure that becomes that deterrent, because now they know a watchful eye is on there. There is enough technology in this world to say exactly when you buy a gun, where you bought it from, and when you did it, and that needs to be alert for the local police officers. Not taking away your right to own a gun. That's fine. And if you can justify it with the police officer, great. But now, if this crime happens after an officer or officers investigated that person, then I'm going to say now the police force, hey, you dropped the ball. Not only we can connect some dots all the way through what's going on. But as of right now, they're not doing anything. I truly feel I'm not want to take away your right to bear arms because people get up in the air about that. I'm saying, yeah, we need to put a limit on how many you can purchase, and especially in the time frame. Why are you purchasing? That's period. You have the right to you have the right to have a gun. Police should have the right to interrogate you and ask you, why are you purchasing so many guns?
Yeah. So again, and back to what Matt is coming up with. No, again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't and you can't, and it's not right that you own that. Listen, I got my gun safe out in the garage, and I got a few things out there too as well. But again, I've had the checks, I've had the background, I've had all the training and all. I've had all the things done properly. Just saying, again, yeah, check up on these folks, right?
I say check up on him.
I say
if you bought 7 guns, if he bought 7 guns within 2 months, police should go check up on you.
Yeah,
the person that wrote that comment, absolutely, they need to go check up and wonder why you bought 7 guns in 2 months, and you should be able to justify why you did it in order to say that you're a sane person to be fine. I'm saying, yeah, police should have the right to infringe on your privacy or interrogate you if you bought a certain amount of guns within a certain time period. Now, if you bought 2 guns in 2 years, okay, that's not a red flag. 7 guns in 2 months, yeah, that's a red flag. That's an unusual pattern. That doesn't happen. So since that's an unusual pattern, police should have the right to come to your doorstep and have a conversation with you asking you why you bought 7 guns in 2 months. If you could justify it, fine. If you can't, police should have the right to do whatever they're supposed to do in order to deter you from committing a crime if they think you might possibly commit a crime. Yeah. We need to be upfront with it, not behind.
We need to have these conversations, right? And again, so Matt, we'd love to hear. I mean, also if you have some dialogue and some ways that we can get around this or get through this to change the system, because what's in place right now isn't working. Because if we got to keep leading off with 6 people dying at a Christian elementary school every single week, right? If we have to continue to have these types of conversations because this person has this number of firearms in their garage, something has to change, man. We can't just keep letting it go and just hoping that it gets better. It's not. It's not.
Well,
So I'm open, and I'm sure Montel is as well, to a discussion, and that's what we're doing here, having that awkward discussion about, man, there's got to be somebody somewhere that actually says this can't keep going down the road that it's going. Somebody has got to make a change in the way it happens. Maybe look, my expertise in technology, my expertise is not in sociology and in legal and in government, things of that nature. But again, I'm a concerned citizen. I'm a concerned parent as well. And I do not ever want to hear that Oregon State or UCLA is on lockdown because some student went in the classroom and started shooting up stuff, and I got to worry about my kids. I've already had that happen at my kids' high school, where I had to go down there because they had an active shooter situation there at Oakmont High School. So again, so this is rattling me because I've been in that type of
well,
situation, unfortunately. So go ahead, man.
I think, like I said, I'm not against somebody bearing arms. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if there's an unusual pattern of somebody ordering guns or purchasing guns outside of the norm, especially like this particular person buying 7 guns within 2 months, that's police need to be able to have the power to say, go have a conversation with that person to figure out what's going on. And there's nothing wrong with a police knocking at your door saying, hey, we got an alert that you bought 7 guns in 2 months. Can you explain to us why? I don't know. Why is it so infringing if someone asks you why to prevent something from happening? I don't, there shouldn't be a problem with that. And I'm not saying the police officer is supposed to, I think one of the comments was like, he's supposed to determine an opinion on the staff. No, he's not. He's supposed to take down the notes, go assess it right now, because I don't think the person's, since the cops by, going to go commit whatever crime or do whatever they're going to do right after the cops come by.
Yeah.
That's more of a determine and say, hey, we're watching. We're watching now. We watch and see what you're doing just in case, because we're not sure until we get all the evidence gathered together. I don't see any problem with that, especially if it's going to prevent 3 babies dying and 3 administrators dying. If infringing on your privacy is going to prevent deaths, by all means do it. By all means do it, especially if innocent kids. Yeah. So, I'm not a gun advocate. I'm not a big gun person. But I know right is right and wrong is wrong. And right now, the process they have right now is in there is wrong. You can go get a gun. You can order 20 guns in 1 month and get it all taken care of. And then you snap one day or you're not happy one day and you go do drive-bys in your car. And the problem is if a cop came by and said, hey, hold on, what's going on? Why you got 20 guns? That might be the determinant for me not doing that. You know? Yeah. And if a cop doesn't answer, then he investigates. He investigates what's going on. He keeps a watchful eye on what's going on. You know, and I'm not the police officer. I'm not saying I'm giving a suggestion and trying to provide an answer to an alternative to what's already going on. It should, and to ask you, should you have the right to buy 7 guns in 1 month, knowing that you probably have a mental health history? Should that be? You be comfortable if your neighbor orders 7 guns and you know they have a mental health history?
Yeah, because this person did have some history of that. Correct. Yeah, and yeah. I think honestly,
and if it can be prevented, hold on, James. If it can be prevented by a police officer maybe getting flagged and stopping by and talking to that person, that can maybe deter that crime. That doesn't make you happy, or that doesn't make you satisfied, or I mean, if you don't have nothing to hide, it shouldn't be no problem. In my opinion, it's not an infringement on your privacy if a person just says, "Hey, we got a flag. We got a flag that you have to go." Even if it's a notification in the mail. Boom. Hey, James Hicks, you know what? We got a notification that, hey, you ordered 7 guns in the last 2 months. You know, we're keeping a watchful eye on this situation because this is a red flag. You know, that might be enough. Just sending an automatic letter. I don't know the answer, but no one else is providing any solutions to this issue either. This is just my opinion.
Yeah, no one else is going down this deep with this particular conversation because everyone's scared, right? And almost rightfully so, right? Because no one wants to get that phone call or no one wants to get that news alert saying that their child is involved in something of this nature. I could not even imagine what it was like.
Man.
Right. And the situation I was in with my kids, it was pretty much handled by the time I got there, but I could not even imagine something of this nature. So, Matt, appreciate you, man, for real, for coming and stirring the dialogue and having it. You're seeing this type of situation from your particular lens, right? Yeah. And we're coming at it from another particular lens, but this is a safe space and we're trying to have this dialogue, and it is an awkward conversation. And We can agree to disagree, but we can respect each other as well during this dialogue. But I think what we're all trying to say at the end of the day, what's in place right now isn't working. Because
Yep. Yeah.
unfortunately, before the end of what is this? Before the end of April, we're gonna have another story like this.
I hope not.
Before the end of April,
Yeah.
we're gonna have another thoughts and prayers and hashtags story about someone went out there and shot up a supermarket, a grocery store, a school, a church, or whatever the case may be. And something has got to be done, man. Something's
Yeah.
got to be something.
Hey Matt, I appreciate the dialogue, man. Please, I really do. I think I'm glad you shooting questions in your opinion as well. Um, I do. I'm glad you're showing us through your links. So keep them coming. To say all I'm saying, illegally purchase a gun cannot be surrendered. I don't know. It's just surrender for something.
Yeah, cannot be surrendered if there has been no crime, right? And
No,
then
I'm not saying take away the person's
yeah,
guns. I'm not.
yeah,
I didn't say that at all. That's not what I'm saying at all. Don't take away their guns. I'm saying just let them know that there's a watchful eye on them. We're watching what's going to happen because this is an unusual pattern. Just like we do in anything else, just like they do in anything. If there's an unusual pattern, it goes on an alert. I think if someone purchases guns within the time frame, whatever that may be, or whatever that's predetermined, police need to be alerted to that so they can keep an eye on the house. What real if they never see a crime committed and the 7 guns are legal, then they just move on. If there's no crime committed or they don't think there's any suspicious activity, then move on. I'm not saying anything like that, but police need to be alert beforehand instead of after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
We're being reactive instead of being proactive in this kind of situation.
And I think what Laura's bringing in right now again. So it's a combination of the legal side, right? The law enforcement needs to be involved, and then the healthcare facilities, things that need, and the medical side. Both of those need to kind of work in conjunction with this. We're not saying again just go out there just because you bought 8, 9, 10. You got a gun, you got a bow and arrow, you got axes, you got all these things. Maybe right, but check in on somebody. Make sure that they don't have any predetermined conditions. Make sure that they're in a whatever quote unquote stable environment situation is. Just be proactive on folks. Don't just again, someone walking around in a trench coat in the middle of July, say something. Figure out, hey brother, what you doing? Right? Just let's not be so afraid to at least have that conversation when something may look off.
Or deter the situation completely. Like I said, like you're saying reach out. And that's a determinant, right? If you reach out and tell somebody, hey, make sure their mental health is okay. I'm saying the same exact thing when it comes just to guns. Mm-hmm. If the guns are there, if somebody orders some guns, we need to have some type of determinant. He said Matt says he has a solution.
All right, and
Matt, why don't you come on the show one day and give us your solution?
Matt, I know Matt. Matt's a good dude. Matt's a dude, and I will send Matt the. I'll send you the link right now. Actually, appreciate first of all everyone being logged in. I see folks all over the place coming in. We wanted to touch on this because we always touch on the social impacting stories of the day. We're going to get into some other things, but let me put up what Matt was saying. You're not going to like it. Answer a constitutional amendment. Sadly, that is darn near impossible. I don't know if I would say I don't like that. I would. I can understand the debate and the conversation and the the back and forth.
But see, that's going down a whole other line because it's a constitutional right and it's law doesn't mean that it's always right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Because you have a right to bear arms doesn't mean you should. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the right thing to do. Right. That Constitution was written how many years ago? Hundreds of years ago. Times have changed at this particular point. It needs to be revisited and rewritten because I don't think every citizen in the United States should have a gun. Yeah. They shouldn't.
Two-thirds of Congress approval and 75% of each state government to pass a constitutional amendment. This is the only way. Matt, you know what? We are actually talking about doing something. This is one of Montel's ideas. Where is that? I want to make sure I got the words right. The Wake Up Show. So there's actual, and I sent a tweet out after the live show of bringing everyone into the private community, in the premium community, and having kind of the post really long-term conversation,
the unfiltered conversation,
right? Because we trying to get that YouTube money, right? So we want to make sure we stay somewhere in there. Yeah. But having this type of online dialogue going even deeper and having that, Matt, I think we are definitely going to do that. I haven't fully baked how that is going to look, but that's what we're going to do, man. So probably in a couple of days, we'll bring the community in, bring you on, and we'll have that discussion about this. It'll still be a hot topic for sure, but hopefully that works out with you, man. I know you East Coast, and I know you get up real early, Matt, but we'll still work something out, man.
I appreciate him. I appreciate him tuning into the show and chiming in. Thanks,
Yeah,
man. I appreciate that.
yeah. So the wake up. Tell me more. I'll support that. Okay, there we go. I had to make sure that it was my guy Matt. He got one of my coffee mugs. I got to make sure he's still, somewhat, that we can still connect
absolutely,
together.
man.
He's a good man.
Hey,
So
and Matt, bring some friends too. Let's chime in with all.
listen, bring some friends, brother. Listen,
let's
we
have
can
a
do
discussion. Let's have an open dialogue discussion about everything because again, and we're getting off the topic not what we normally do, but this is the right to bear arms discussion that we'll have a conversation about.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about what's good about that and what's bad about that. Again, the Constitution, just because it's a constitutional right, in my opinion, doesn't mean it's right. It's a law that's in place, the kind of body, but it's not working anymore. It's not working because it's meant for you to have a gun at home to defend your family if a situation happens. Well, now it's not. It's used now that people that are, criminals always use them, and that's not even, that's a past. Now we got other people using them to do hideous crimes against kids. There's right now where I would draw the line and want to have that topic of discussion and figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
Because bottom line, guns are falling into the wrong people's hands, legally or illegally. And if we can prevent at least one way legally, if they're ordering the guns and we can see it online and we have the technology to track it and do it, why aren't we doing it? Okay, you can have a gun.
Why aren't we doing it?
I don't care. But we need to be able to figure out a way to be a deterrent when people committing crimes and a way to track these guns and track situations that's going on so we can prevent my babies, particularly from being in a situation where they
go ahead and be selfish, right? Go, because that's
hey,
how I'm feeling too, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead and be selfish, and that's where it is right there. I just put the link up right there. So again, folks, you saw it. The digitalcollective.network is where the community is. You can actually go over there and join, and that's where gotta make sure I got it right again. Yeah, the wake up show is going to happen. Let's out of respect, though, let's continue to move on because we've got a lot of things that we want to cover, and that particular topic is still relevant to this show because it's social impacting. But we'll go much deeper into it on that particular segment. Great dialogue, unfortunate story. I hate doing these stories, but I want to bring up a comment that leads into the next stories that we have as well, and even the one that we just talked about from my mother-in-law. Digging deeper, what is happening with our youth when they have issues and problems in life? They go do things so outrageous that they will get the attention they are demanding. This particular story right here. Right? So
we already said, for that question, before we move on, we already said that, unfortunately, society is addicted to attention.
Yeah.
They're addicted to getting attention.
Folks, if you haven't watched Chris Rock, the latest one, he goes into it and it's very clear in terms. And it's truthful what he said about folks, this particular society, the youth of our today needing that attention from whatever means, right? Showing their tail, going out there and doing something outrageous like this, or considering themselves a victim of circumstance. So
we're addicted. We're a society that is addicted to attention and wanting shine to be on us. Yeah. So it's sad.
Yeah, let me go into another story. I'm gonna move them around just a little bit from what we talked about because again, I want to piggyback off of that comment. But again, things are happening right now. Again, back to sports a little bit, right? So we're watching the NCAA championships. We're seeing some great competition, especially on the women's side. Listen, the women are balling. Yeah. So shout out to all of them. We're gonna talk a little bit about it more at the end of the story, but competition, can get hot. Competition, can be heated. But there's no need to swing on your competitor just because you won. First of all, you won the game, and there's no need of you swinging on your competitor as you're in the congratulations line, things like that. And that's what the situation happened here. Memphis is one of the players on the Memphis team hit the other competitor in the face as they were going through the handshake line. Why? Because of a hard foul earlier on in the game, may have had some words exchanged. And again, something's going on outside of the competition. Something's going on with the youth. Something's going on with mentality and maybe an expectation that folks may have that they can do this, right? That they feel justified in being able to just roll up on somebody and swing on them. I'm gonna show the video here, and I'm just let y'all see what happens. So here we go in the line. Y'all zoom in, you'll see a little stop here, a little couple of more words at the end, and then she hits her in the face. And then just immediately walks away or gets held back. So young ladies on the ground. That doesn't make sense to me, man. That's actually childish from the perspective of, again, you won the game, and then now you're gonna go and just swing on somebody. It's an entitlement. That was the word I was looking for. I think
Yeah.
I think some of the kids today, even some of the adults, are in a weird entitlement vortex in their minds right now. What do you think about this, man?
This is
It's crazy.
lack of self-control. One, lack of self-control. Two, this is a kind of a I don't know where this come from, where they think that she can act out this way in a situation like this. And again, the punishment has to fit the crime, right? There's got to be an account. I'm sorry. It should be account. It needs to be an accountability for this type of situation, and it needs to be a hammer. So one, it doesn't happen again, and two, now this young lady is I think they're talking about bringing her up on criminal charges.
So they actually they charged her with assault.
Yeah,
they've charged her with assault, rightfully so. Right.
Rightfully so.
You can't just go and sucker punch somebody, man. That's just that's childish.
Not only just not sucker punching somebody, but it's the fact of the matter that you have the audacity because you lost in the situation to even want to punch anything.
Come on, man.
Or any person. Like,
do better.
Yeah, exactly, man. That's just a do better. I don't think that's a cultural thing. I think that's an individual issue. That this young lady had. Whatever, she's so distraught and so angry about a foul that happened earlier, and put that on top of losing the game. She felt that she had the right to strike someone in the face, which we know. I'm all about competing hard. I am, and I'm all about being aggressive.
Yeah,
I'm all about even being super aggressive. But when the game's over, You need to show. This is where sportsmanship comes in. You need to be able to handle yourself in some certain type of manner, and be respectful to whoever won or whoever lost. There's no need to do that. Now, take this thing. If this situation happened in the middle of the game, if they were battling and they were scrapping for the ball and she got fouled hard and they started pushing each other and she swung on her, that's different because you're in the heat of the moment. You're in the battle. You're in battle. She did this when battle was over. When the battle was over, she decided to go ahead and sucker punch her. That's an individual. And again, we're talking about that's a conscious decision she made to say, hey, as soon as this girl get up to this line and get near me, I'm gonna punch her in her face.
Yeah.
That's not
premeditated,
like,
right? So knew what she was going to do. Premeditated. Once they all lined up, she knew what was going to happen. You saw the stop and the pause there in the line. Had some words, whatever they said, and then went back and swung on her. So now, criminal charges have been filed, and I believe the school is also looking at possible some type of suspension and things. It's an active criminal investigation. Is the words right from the article, so.
And I'm gonna be honest with you. I watched it several times. I don't think she punched her that hard. It didn't look like she punched her that hard. I think she put a little extra on it by acting.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But the act of it in itself is bad enough, and I believe I'm hoping this sets an example for what's going to happen to somebody that tries to do that again. Because again, I think people are addicted to attention, and like I said, I think it was a conscious thought process that she went through before she got in that line, and she's like, I'm going to go ahead and hit this person for whatever reason, and they need to be able to lay down the law to say the next time somebody does this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
This is going to be your scholarship is going to be taken away if you're going to put an assault. This is the same similar situation that happened to those cats in Michigan State. Remember when they fought the kid in
that's true.
In the hallway. In that situation, I've been there and I understand it. I get it where you guys where it's going off and everybody's chirping and everything and you're fighting and you're doing all that stuff. But in that situation, the guy was able to fight back too, right? It was kind of a fight. They just happened to have 3-on-1 in the Michigan State situation. They were fighting back and all that stuff. And to be all honesty, that's kind of a nature on the part of football, right? Being physical, being aggressive, and attacking. Basketball won the game, but again, you got to understand also the nature of it. The Michigan State game, it was before the game. It's before we about to go in battle. We so hyped to get ready to go into battle. We ready to get at it.
Yeah.
This happens when the battle was over. It's all said and done. What we were supposed, the ultimate goal we were trying to achieve is already done. Either we get it or we fail.
Yeah,
And you have to accept it.
I'm gonna call them professional athletes at this point, right? Because now
Yeah,
it's the world
you're
of
getting paid.
NIL. Even though they're collegiate athletes, I'm gonna call them professionals. So really, you got to rise above that and not be subjected to this level of behavior. So I'll put it back up there because I see some folks asking to still see the video if they haven't seen it, but here it is again right here. But this is not right.
No. It ain't right. She's gonna punch her. Again, I don't see the punch being that hard where it dropped her like that. But I get the job. She got punched in the face. She fell to the ground or whatnot. But the bottom line is, you can't have this type of behavior, man. In any sports event, I don't condone it when it's in Pop Warner to Little League, all the way to the pros. You can't. When the game is over, it's over. Now, like I said, if it was in the heat of battle while they were playing, it's still wrong. But I'm more empathetic to that because you're being so competitive at a point where any minute move or mistake or thing, you got to deal with it. After the game, man, there's no room for it. You cannot put yourself in that situation and punch somebody.
That's correct.
Period.
So we got polarizing situations here. All right, and the stories are falling into place, and it's great. So I'm glad we've got everyone watching. So you see that situation, right? Young lady, heat of battle. After the game, you end up hitting her in the face. That's crazy. I think there's a point and a time. I'm not condoning any violence. Let me start off with that. I'm not condoning any violence, but there's a point. There's a time and a place for everything. And here's a situation on the professional side, the actual professional side, a fan. Rolls up on Bradley Beal after the Wizards lost a game recently and gets in his face. Says, drops a couple of 4-letter words on him and says, "You cost me something, $1,200, whatever. You cost me money in a bet because y'all lost." Bradley Beal said, "Listen, man, I just lost the game. Right? You don't want to do that. You don't want this smoke right now." And Bradley says, "Get away from me." Fan was belligerent. Fan was drinking. Next thing you know, Bradley ends up putting them hands on him and actually swings on him and hit the person. So right now, the Washington Wizards star Bradley Beal is under police investigation after a confrontation with a fan who heckled the NBA star over a lost bet following a game last week. This is a different situation. Not condoning violence, but again, why are we seeing? Here's my question to everybody in the audience: why are we seeing so much of this negativity, so much of this violence, so much of this acting out? And to like Mama Sheila's statement right there, I mean, almost like there's no onus or no ownership of proper behavior. Why are we seeing so much of this violence at entertainment? Why are we seeing? I'm going to a game. I'm already spending a whole lot of money to drive to park to get a drink, to take the whole family, and there's no need to get into those types of situations on both sides. Again, but I understand. I understand what Bradley Beal did, but again, I'm just wondering why society has gotten to the point where now we have to have all of these negative confrontations with folks.
I mean, Bradley Beal's defended himself. From what the story says, he's defended himself. So this dude is being belligerent and saying 4-letter words to him and all this stuff. If he feels that he's being threatened, he has every right to defend himself, no matter at any cost, because the guy is acting in a threatening manner.
Mm-hmm. Now, and I got it on the screen exactly what he said. All for $1,300. Yeah, that's money too. Not $1,300 if you don't have it and you lost it in a bet. But come on.
Yeah, that's on you to bet on me. I didn't tell you to go bet on me. I didn't force you to bet. I didn't force you to do any of that because you lost money. That's on you. And the fact that you're upset about money, you need to deal with that in any kind of way. Now, I'm quite sure if the comment was wasn't so close or whatever, and he didn't get in Bradley's Beal face, then it wouldn't have been that. It wouldn't have been the situation. He's a professional. He knows how to walk that off. But the fact of the matter that he was in fist and he was in reach and talking that trash to me, hey man, because he's an athlete, it doesn't mean he can't defend himself. I'm gonna tell you right now, if me and you are on the street and somebody comes in our face and says, "F you, team no sleep, you lost some money, blah 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 blah," and I feel like we're gonna be threatened, hey man, I'd rather be the person that hits first and deal with some consequence later instead of getting hit second, instead of getting hit first. and then I'm like holding there, sitting on the ground, holding my jaw, wondering what happened.
Well,
I'm going to defend myself. I'm going to, at all costs, and I think everyone has the right to defend themselves if they feel they're being threatened. It would be different if Bradley Beal ran up into the stands and started hitting dude.
yeah.
That's different.
Yeah,
He didn't do that. The guy.
So all of us old school players, right? The Meta World Peace. Well, what was he back then? He was the Ron Artest. You know, the Rumble in the where was it at? In Indiana,
Palace.
In the Palace,
Yeah,
the
in the
Malice
Palace,
in the
yeah.
Palace. Now, that was not a good situation for them cats to roll up in the stands like that. Even though they were heckling and they were probably throwing beers or whatever, but to roll up on there and to do that, that's a whole different
That's a whole different
situation
story.
right there. But Matt, I see what you're saying again here. Doesn't the sticks and stones rule apply? It doesn't seem like the fan put hands on him. But man,
but do you want to put yourself in a situation where you can possibly put hands on him?
There you go. There is, you know, the personal space.
Yeah.
There is that personal space. There is that you know when you pushing the wrong buttons. You know when you instigating. You know you shouldn't be doing this. You know you wrong for running up on this. How tall is Bradley Beal? It's a big deal.
Let's just be real. Fans think they have the right to talk and disrespect and say anything they want to athletes, to other people, just like they're anything else. Bottom
talk
line,
to us, tall boy. You in the audience, tall boy. Talk to us, brother. You know, talk to us about these crazy fans, right?
They're people too. They come from different situations too, and you can't overcrowd their personal space and put them in a situation where they feel threatened.
Man, you just can't do it. You just can't do it.
It's funny, but you know it's funny because if this was somebody on the street, a la Charles Barkley, you say something crazy to him, he had every right to defend himself.
Yeah, Charles Barkley, he already told us he's not a role model. Charles Barkley,
and he threw the bar glass. But I'm saying, take away the name Charles Barkley and make it Charles James, right? A person we don't even know. You invade his space. He feels like he's being threatened. He throws the punch. Police aren't going to arrest him. If he says, I felt threatened by this guy yelling at me and cussing at me and he was in my space, he has every right to defend himself. I think people need to understand just because you're a fan doesn't give you the right to talk to anybody you want, and you cannot crowd people's personal space.
Yes.
That's anybody. You can't do it at work. You can't do it in the social gatherings. You can't do it anywhere. You don't crowd their personal space, especially when you're talking crazy.
Okay, here we go right here. We have had a breakthrough moment because you and I talked about it off screen, and my man Matt finally came around with it.
Yeah.
The fan, Mr. Brown, had one of them, every round you're going to find out. That's exactly what it is, man. And, you know,
Yep.
Literally, we were saying that ahead of time, and that's exactly what it. I mean, again, it's that situation. You keep messing with me.
You're gonna find out. You're gonna see what happened if you cross that line.
You done lost your little $1,300, okay? But you better not mess with me right now. You're gonna find out here in a second. So that's exactly what this situation is. But I wanted to bring it up just to have the dialogue again. That it seems like we're on this path. Right, especially with our athletes and with fans and with the entertainment and with sports and within society. So,
do you remember what happened with with the Raiders? The reporter that got in Homeboy's face, and got smacked around a couple of times after the game. The receiver when he was coming off the field, he crowded his person. It was a reporter crowded his personal space, and the guy pushed him out of the way. Come on, man! Just because you're a fan or administrative or whatever. I like that conversation. You can't keep poking the bear. You can't get in their personal space. You need to let them go ahead and move and go on, just like you would do anybody else. You know, it's funny. You'll say those things to an athlete because you think he's in a professional setting. He won't do so. But if you're in just a social gathering, no one go pokes the bear at the biggest dude in the crowd.
Don't do it.
No one says something because they know what's going to happen.
Don't do it.
Right?
You don't want that.
Yeah. So, I mean that. I think you're right. It's still, violence is no place. I agree with you. There's violence no place, but also there's no place for people to start to be in someone's personal space and talking crazy to them and giving them the reason that they have to defend themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, we got to use common sense in the whole thing, in the whole realm of things. Now, I bet you any amount of dollars that fan had some drinks in.
Oh yeah. Oh,
I think he had a little alcohol in it.
Liquor courage does a whole lot, right? And it's,
a whole lot. Yeah.
See, man, all right. See, I wanted to talk about a story tonight. You wanted me to push it all, talking about liquor courage. I mean, all these stories could be intertwined in a certain way, but maybe we'll hold. We'll see. We've gone deep into a lot of things. We're already 45 minutes in. See a lot of folks on Twitter watch. Appreciate y'all. Listen, you might want to come over here to YouTube because we about to get into another intense awkward
Oh,
conversation. And let me sit up straight here, right? Because we always talk about these kinds of things. I think we were one of the first news outlets to kind of break in depth some of these conversations. But before I get into that, let me check these comments out here. Kevin Cox is in the building. We've got to respect him while he's in the room.
yep.
Devontae Adams,
Devontae Adams sure did.
that's what it was.
Yep.
Devontae Adams, put that photographer down. That's true.
Yep.
Alcohol contributes to so many bad things. There you go. That's a good
Oh,
point.
always.
That's a
Yeah.
good
We
point,
always know
right?
that.
All things in moderation. So next story again, and we've talked about the right to be you, the right to participate in things. Everyone is themselves. Everyone has the right to do what it is that they feel innately capable and able to do. I don't even know if that even makes sense. I don't know where I'm going, but let me just stop talking. Put the story up. So we're talking about WNBA player Layshia Clarendon, and I hope I said her name right. Layshia
Mm-hmm.
Clarendon recently posted photos of her post surgery where she had top surgery. Is that what that is called?
Yeah.
Top
Yep. That's what
surgery,
it's.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So she is the first openly trans and non-binary player within the WNBA. She identifies as she, her, they, them, he, and him. Layshia just recently shared her story, put
Mm-hmm.
photos out of the post-surgery situation that she went through because she had her breast removed, and she's getting the majority of the comments that are coming are actually in support, which is a good thing. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
hard pause right there. Hard pause. The comments that are coming from the WNBA, the comments that are coming from the majority of her fans, the comments that are coming from her team are primarily positive for, again, her feeling comfortable with not necessarily going through the surgery, but comfortable of posting this and sharing this so that dialogue and so the conversation can happen. What I keep leading up to is here, again, we've had these conversations about transgender athletes a lot. We've had these conversations about making sure that they not get in where they fit in, but actually have a voice, have the opportunity to be themselves in terms of who they are and what they want to be identified as. I think this is a highly, incredibly courageous story, just for the fact again that
Mm-hmm.
listen, you don't have to post these stories, you don't have to post these photos, right? There's no one telling you to go into surgery and say, I need to show these pictures of me after of, and this is what I look like now. She didn't have to do that. But I think it shows a huge amount of courage for her to actually come out with this. And in her IG post, she says, I'm usually not scared to show news publicly, but the amount of hate, miss, and ignorance I actually had had me debating sharing this joy. I had top surgery. I'm feeling free and euphoric in my body and want trans people to know and see that we've always existed and no one can erase us. The negativity that she's getting, yeah, she's getting it. But again, the vast majority of the comments that she's been getting, again, from the WNBA and from her team, has been positive. Again, we've had this conversation from a different bunch of different areas and dynamics. Your thoughts on the activity of what you went through, your thoughts on the fact that she posted all of this information, and what do you think this will do for other transgender athletes?
Man, that's got to be one
That's
of
a
the.
whole lot. I know that's a whole
No,
lot to
no, no,
talk
no,
about.
no. I'm just saying, one of the strongest human beings to do something like that.
Mm,
You know, as far as putting it out there. I mean, to put your life out there on social media is one thing, but to put a situation like that where it's so up in the air and there's so much hatred against transgender athletes is, and for her to put the surgery out there, saying what she's going through and what she's doing and what's going through what she's doing with her body, man, that's courageous as I don't know what. I don't know a lot of people that can do it and withstand it and be able to endure it, right? She's
yeah,
been able to endure it and keep it going on. I think the second part is you got to give applause to the WNBA and their players for them the support that they're giving. I remember I think I sent you a story about the Liberty, how they spoke out about it,
but
the
yeah, and
champions of the
here's
WNBA.
actually the statement from the Liberty that they posted out online
Yeah,
as well. So yeah,
no, I'm sorry. I think I give you one from the Las Vegas Aces because
Mm,
they were saying how they supported her and supported her decision and support transgenders playing in the league. Now, with that being said, and I'm going to speak personally. For me, I support if they support it. Obviously, if they don't have a problem with it, no. But I'm wondering when the situation becomes a man trying to become a woman and plays in the WNBA, where it does give that physical unfair advantage, right? Because regardless of the situation, I think the bottom line of the rules is you want to create fairness. And we've talked about this before. I think sometimes transgender athletes, especially male going to female, there's an unfair physical advantage. Just because when you're born a biological male, your DNA makeup is a little bit different. Now, if they're all in agreement with it and they're okay with it, then I'm okay with it. If they feel it's not an unfair advantage, then I'm okay with it. But I just don't see that, especially as we get younger and younger, because we've talked about high school athletes and college athletes as well. This is a whole new ballgame. I just, man, I applaud her great courage to do this. Honestly, man, I don't know. I wouldn't feel comfortable putting my life out there on social media
yeah,
and have people judge me.
yeah.
I
I'm
wouldn't have.
actually,
I don't have to. Yeah, I don't have comfortable telling just my close circle
yeah.
certain things about me because I don't
We
want them
keep a
to
lot
judge.
of things just close to the vest and coming out and again showing the pictures. Again, this though again, and I keep harping on this because it's coming and you can't avoid it. These types of conversations are really going to become prominent and they're going to get
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable, especially during the Olympics. They
Oh
really
yeah,
are. I keep leaning towards that because that's when the whole world gets together. Yeah, yeah, it's high school, and yeah, we had the swimmer who wanted to swim on the girls team and all that. Yeah, that's true. That's out there as well. And yeah, we had a guest who was going to come on who's a professional skateboarder who didn't want to compete with a transgender athlete. But listen, man, and what is it in 2024? Where we at in Paris or wherever? That's where
yeah.
we're gonna have some conversation about this. And if there aren't these awkward conversations happening ahead of time about how to work through, manipulate, deal with, confront this particular situation out here, because now
Uh,
folks who identify as transgender are feeling more comfortable with actually coming out and telling folks because they're seeing again some of the folks that they look up, the the WNBA players, they're seeing other folks
mhm.
come out and having that courage to make that conversation. So I got a feeling more and more folks are going to come out, and somebody similar but different to the gun situation. It's an awkward
Yeah.
conversation that has to happen, and we can't just keep shoving it under the rug and
Well,
not deal with it. I don't know how
yeah.
to deal with it. I'm not that smart.
I-
But again, get
yeah.
some of them smart folks in the room. Listen, I'll buy them all coffee and I'll rent a conference room out. But these folks need to get in. IOC needs to have this conversation before Brazil and Portugal and U.S. and France, all these countries get up in there and start competing against each other. Don't want to hear no
I
mess.
think you. I think you're 100% right, and I think the conversation needs to be set before even before that because we got to deal with it within our own athletics in the United States, right? Because we're having these odd moments, these odd situations. We're
Mm.
getting where teams are getting suspended, coaches are getting suspended,
Yep. Yep.
people are being, all kind of type of competitive events are being affected by this because now, like you said, they're more comfortable coming out. They're actually telling their truths through their lens. Um, and you're right. We don't have the answer, right? We don't have. I don't have the answer. I can only give my opinion, what I think. But it's happening. It's happening. We've been talking about this for like maybe
We've been
since a
talking
year
about
from now.
this for a long time.
For the
We're not
summer,
just trying to
and
fill
now,
air. We actually having
yeah, yeah,
real
yeah,
conversations, folks. Right?
yeah. And now it's starting to come to it's starting to come to the forefront. People talking about it. This has, I, and I'm not saying draw the line is the wrong words. Where do we come to a common ground
Wow.
for them to be able to compete on whether side you're transgender? Where do we come to that common ground? For me, and I've said it over and over again, at least through my lenses and right now to somebody over my eyes, I believe there's unfair advantages in some transgenders. If you're born a male and you're going to compete in a woman's sport, I think you have an unfair advantage to a degree. There's some unfair advantages there. I don't agree with that happening. Again, if that was a takeaway from my child who worked so hard to be in this nature and competing, and there's a person that changed their biological nature over which has an unfair advantage now to defeat my child, I would have a problem with that. I just have a problem. I would have an issue with that.
Yeah.
And it's not because they're transgender. It's because they have an unfair advantage. I would have a problem with somebody taking enhancement drugs and competing against my child.
Yep.
I would have somebody that's way more mature and way older competing against a younger child. Unless they're in the professional ranks. There's other issues, but this one is an issue that I don't have a full understanding of, and I'll be the first one to be honest out there. I don't have a full understanding of it, but I think there's an unfair advantage there.
Yeah.
So people that are in charge of sports need to figure out where's there's the common ground. And I mean, I say this because I know it was a year ago, and I remember, James, I sent you there was a transgender, and let's talk about MMA. There was a transgender MMA that fought against another woman, and he beat her really bad. Or I'm sorry, not he, but the transgender person beat beat the biological woman very, very bad in that situation. And sorry for the mislabel. Please, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. But that was a situation where, okay, it was an unfair advantage, a super unfair advantage because of that person's structure and makeup had a really unfair advantage against this person. We got to figure out where's that common ground for transgenders to be able to compete in sports. I don't know what it is, but there's got to be some dialogue with people that got a higher pay grade than me can kind of figure this out and figure out where that common ground is, because we're seeing right now it's not going anywhere. It's not going away.
That's true.
And
it's not going away. It's inching closer to, again, being on the front pages of the news. We bringing up the stuff that has been on the back burner for a minute. And I see in here, Dr. Chris Stone, you're saying the same thing, common ground. I'm looking forward out to the Olympics. I'm looking out till next year. You're talking about stuff, again, that's happening today, that happened yesterday. That more likely it's going to happen tomorrow as well. I'm trying to give folks the benefit of the doubt and say, listen, you got 365 days to try to get this right.
But we can't get the benefit about because we got girls soccer coming up. We got girls baseball coming up. We got softball coming up. We got all these sports coming up where now in high school and in college, they're identifying as transgender and they want to participate.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't, the forecasting and looking forward, that's something different. We got to look at now how to make the situation right so everybody can have the opportunity to compete and play and maximize their ability. And me personally, I think they need to have a transgender, their own league. I don't even know if that's the right thing to do. I really don't. That was one of the suggestions I did before on one of our shows. Maybe that's not the right suggestion. I don't know, but I know the conversation needs to be had.
Conversation needs to be had.
That's one thing.
That's it. Moms in the building talking about, that trans should compete amongst themselves. Let me bring this up as well. Kiana, appreciate you for being here. A born woman, no matter if she identifies as a male, she still competes in a women's league. A born male, no matter how she identifies, should play with males. Again, and
that's a suggestion too.
Right.
Whatever your biological makeup, you should have to compete in that. Or what you were biologically as. But is that right though? I don't know if that's right or wrong. Yeah. I really don't. And I mean, you could draw pluses and minuses for both sides to see what would happen. Kind
of along with what Kevin is saying here. What if someone transitioned early enough in life that nobody could tell or know, and they only ever competed in women's and girls athletics? Because that's not a question that you're gonna ask. I mean, that's not on the form. You want to compete 13 to 18-year-old, what's your weight, what your sex, you're going to ask that question, but you're not going to ask that question of have you transitioned. That's not on the list of the question.
I mean, but now if you're competing in sports, does that need to be on the list?
Ooh.
Does that need to be added to the list?
Ooh.
I mean, is
that an invasion of privacy? Is that an invasion though? Right. I mean, I know where you're going, but again, I'm doubting Thomas, just picking at the wound here. Right. I mean, I just wonder if that's just out of scope for the questions that an athletic governing body, an IOC, can say. Montel Allen, were you born a man? Were you born a woman? Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I'm just asking.
Or do you identify man, woman, or transgender? And then if you identify transgender, you can kind of deep probe into that. I don't. This is going to be a really touchy subject along the lines.
Y'all just
matter
wait.
Which way people fall.
Y'all just wait. You remember Team No Sleep brought it up early on, right? We talked about this before it was popular.
Yeah, and I want to continue. I hope we continue these conversations because this is going to change the platform or landscape of sports forever. Whatever the decision is made, it will change the landscape of sports forever, because whether you're going to agree with them to go in and compete in the sex they identify with, or they're going to be able to compete in the sex, their biological sex, it's going to change the entire landscape of sports.
Entire landscape, right? And we can't ignore it. So again, let's be cognizant. Let's be sensitive. Let's be aware, and again, not shy away from these awkward conversations. My goodness, brother, we getting into it tonight, boy.
I
Appreciate
appreciate all
everyone.
the people. Hey, I appreciate everybody
Yeah,
commenting on this.
man. Come on, the community team no sleep. Man, the community is off the chain here, man. This is what it's all about. Let's see, Dr. Chris Stone. I worry about human safety in combat. I worry about human safety in combat sports in this area. Back to that MMA fight right there that you just
Yeah,
talked about. That's reality right there.
yeah.
Man. All right. Got a couple more stories, but let's go ahead and get into this one that you brought up, and the squad that you represent right now. Go ahead and show the clothes you
Oh
want
yeah.
first. Let's
You
go
know,
ahead and see Iowa
Iowa Wesleyan.
Wesleyan. Why is
Iowa
that?
Wesleyan.
Why is that such an important? Why is that a story that we want to talk about tonight? Let me go ahead and I'm gonna bring you up solely
Yeah.
to talk about this.
I think this is an important situation that people need to be aware of. Since this year, 2023, we've had 3 schools close their football programs and 2 schools closed completely: Iowa Wesleyan and Trinity International. Which this is a sad case, man. I mean, I believe um, our states and our government and our U.S. government need to be in a position to help these schools out when they fall in find themselves in financial hardship. Now, there's 2 folds to the story. I believe Iowa Wesleyan, and let's talk about Iowa Wesleyan in particular. This is a small school in Iowa that was Division III school. It houses thousands of students and hundreds of athletes that participate in. And in our country, I find it very sad that we will invest over 80 billion in the prison system, but don't give money to schools. We invest in we invest in our incarceration, and we go ahead and leave education to fall at the wayside. That's one of the most, that's really indicative of our society, which is sad. And if you got to understand, schools and prisons fall under the kind of the same moniker. Schools get paid for how many people enroll and are in seats, just like prison. They got to fill the beds in order to get paid. This particular school just closed yesterday and left a lot of people disenfranchised in what's going on. And we need to bring awareness to this. Schools, we got to keep schools and colleges open, whether they're small or big, because they provide a platform of education for young people to be able to get themselves in our workforce, be able to be competitive in the workforce, be able to have opportunities. Schools are a landscape for opportunities, and they're slowly but surely falling by the wayside. We're only in March, and we lost 2 schools and a bunch of programs from 3 colleges that I know of, and I'm quite sure there's other ones that are kind of in the same situation that are teetering whether they're going to be alive or not alive in the next year or 2. And I think we have to bring a lot of awareness to it, because that takes away from so many young people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm passionate about the football program.
Right.
That just takes away from 100 young men. And we know in football, that 100 young men, 80% of makeup of men of color. So this is 80% of men of color on that team. That's 80% of that's probably out of 100. That's 80 men. Opportunity that's gone. They don't have the opportunity. They don't have the mechanism that attract them to the school. They don't have the mechanism now that will keep them in school. And now they don't have the mechanism at all to participate and do something they love, because it's gone.
It's gone.
And people got to understand. Go ahead.
No, and I was just wondering, because I know since you're kind of intimately involved, because you've sent some athletes to that school.
Yes.
What are they doing today? Right. I mean, have they gone and transferred
Yep.
somewhere else, or
Got
are
to
they?
find a home.
Wow.
You got to think right now. So recruiting season is over for football, right? And I can
Okay.
only speak to the football. I'm not speaking for other sports. But for football, the recruiting season is pretty much over. Everybody's going into spring ball, getting prepared for the fall. So now these young men have to scramble to try to find a home. Schools have to have spots opening, scholarships available, and all these things just to try to get these kids, to try to absorb
Man.
these kids into their program. So we just left 100 to 125 young men, and I'm just talking about the football arena. Now they got to scramble trying to find a school and be able to do something. That's not included. Now we take that into consideration, all the athletics, which are hundreds. All those athletes got to try to find a home, find a place, find a school to go to school, and all these different types of things. And it's funny, schools, schools are like banks. They can just say, "Oh well, we're closed. That's it. We're done."
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's no accountability. There's no recourse. There's no situation. They're just closed. And I'm saying we gotta start trying to figure out and identify and avoid these situations, because these are educating a lot of young people. These schools, I know a young man that went there and graduated from there, and now he works for the city of San Diego, and he's doing very well for himself. But that opportunity wouldn't present itself unless he had his education. He wouldn't be able to be a manager of people in his facilities if he didn't have that education. He has that education from Iowa Wesleyan. People got educations from Trinity International. The mechanism of sports attracts kids to go to these schools, just like science programs for engineers, just like engineering programs attract people that are mathematicians and so on. Football and basketball and these other sports are mechanisms to attract them to come to that university. Now, on the university side, there's issues too. They need to be creative in order to get more enrollment. They have to be creative in doing those types of things. So it's a two-way street. But when they're not creative and they aren't able to do those things, there needs to be a recourse besides close. There needs to be another alternative instead of close. There needs to be something that someone can step in and say, "Hey, we have a fund to help you bail yourself out," just like they bailed out banks, and they can cut some of that money they invest in prisons and invest in situations where these schools. NCAA is part of the issue too. Why aren't they coming to the rescue to help these schools out? They make so much money from these programs, these big programs.
Yeah.
It should be able to trickle down to some of these smaller programs to help them. So it's a lot of moving parts, but the bottom line, people need to be aware of.
Need to be
That's the
aware,
bottom line.
and I'd rather. I think you alluded to it, right? I'd rather close jails than close
Yes,
schools. I'd
absolutely.
rather have art programs like Kevin is saying. I'd rather have athletic programs. I'd rather have music appreciate. I'd rather have the resources put into that than building another prison.
Yep, I
But
agree. And that's the sad part. We don't have that. We don't have that. And part of it's awareness. I think people just aren't aware of the platforms. And I know people don't. I mean, I wish people would chime in and kind of get a better understanding. But this is important, man, because what if this happens to your local school?
mm-hmm.
What if this happens to the schools that your kids are going, your actually child is going to? If they just said tomorrow they're closing
It's crazy.
without any
181-year-old private university. Yeah, yeah. And again,
yeah,
the numbers, the physical numbers aren't large, right? What was it? I think I saw 858 students. But
correct.
still, that's 858 people who are now displaced. That's just the
Yes.
students. Then you look at the administration. You look at everyone else around that. So again, they're going to tear. They may not tear the buildings down, but again, you've torn up these lives of 858 plus people
Yep.
because of why.
Yeah. Well, they say financial reasons, and I'm saying I'm tired. I mean, I get sick of having an argument. Why aren't we? They look at everything as an expense, right? Students are an expense. They're
Hmm.
an expense. They're an expense. Why isn't that changed around and said they are an investment? Because they're going to be the people that work in your communities. The other people that are going to be working and go back home and start businesses and work plentiful jobs and be able to give back. People are not, I mean, they're not an expense. The activities they provide at school are not an expense. It's an investment in your student body. And
Amen, brother.
it's funny that bigger schools get it, right? The UCLA's and Oregon's. You think they have football programs, yeah, because they bring money, but you know why they invest in gymnastics, which really doesn't make a lot of money, or softball that really does make a lot of money? Because they know this is an investment in their student body. They know it is a mechanism to attract more students of different genders. They know those are things that you got to invest in your students to get them to pull them to come, and then everything else works itself out. It's funny that the smaller schools don't adopt that moniker. And I know there's budget concerns in there, but budget is all in the enrollment. If you maximize your enrollment, there's more than enough money.
As
When you don't
listen,
maximize
and
your
they
enrollment,
have, right, because their enrollment at this particular school went up from roughly 800 in the fall 2019. So again, there's
yeah,
surplus of money coming in from tuition and books. I know about tuition and books right now.
yeah,
So
absolutely. So when it's there, then what else is there? I think there's a mismanagement of money on the school part, but I also think there needs to be somebody that when they feel this way, somebody needs to be to intervene and say, no, 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 we can't close this.
mm-hmm.
Or it needs to be a governing body besides the people on the board that feel it's an expense or feel expensive to say no, because it's more the only people that's going to get away with something are the people on that board, right? They supposedly don't lose any more money, but everybody else loses jobs. Everybody else, like you said, 858 students that are displaced. They got to try to find another home so they can just graduate. They got to find another school to enroll. I mean,
Yeah.
we already know the enrollment process. Man, you have college kids. They got to go through the enrollment process. They got to switch their financial aid over if they got that. There's a whole big process that goes on at this point, and there's no accountability on when the schools close. Just like at Whittier, there was no accountability when they cut some of the athletic programs. They said, "Oh, it's just a money cost." It's not a money cost. I promise that's not the issue. They want to cut corners. They want to cut corners, and they want to be. They don't want to be creative in generating more money or doing the things they need to do. And it gets sickening because the only people who are affected are the kids. Kids are the kids that are supposed to be invested in their future to be competitive in the workforce.
Yeah.
So I ask you, if your kid is going to a school and the officer closes the next day, what would you do? How upset would you be?
Man,
If Oregon State was to close its doors tomorrow, how would you be?
I don't
Be
even want to
very
have.
upset.
I don't even want to fathom that. Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
have a lot of problems. I would. I really
yeah,
would. I'd make a lot of
and,
noise.
yeah. So I'm saying, just, if this ain't Oregon State. Oregon Tech should get the same response that Oregon State gets.
Mm-hmm.
It should be the same way. Just because it's a smaller school doesn't mean it doesn't deserve the attention like these other schools. And I wish people would pay more attention to it.
Yeah. So that's that, man. I mean, again, we bring that up again because I think that the majority of folks didn't know specifically about this school situation, but I'm glad that it actually. Not glad it happened. I'm glad that we were able to get a little more detailed in it because you've got some personal relationships there, right? So you actually can put it into a better perspective. So, folks, man, I mean, listen to what Montel was saying, right? I'm just here ad libbing particularly, but I think the fact that we got to be aware of what's going on with these school systems. We got to find a way to fund them. Again, it's being active within our electoral system, in our political system, being active in what happens in our jurisdiction, all of that, right? Just we have to be an active participant within our society and within our communities because building more prisons as opposed to building more schools, I'm gonna tell you where I'm gonna put the majority of my money at. So
Absolutely. But, we can't, we just, quit investing in incarceration, invest in education.
investing it.
That's the way.
All right, man. Listen, we did it tonight, but we got two more stories that we just gonna fly through. So folks, glad you
Okay.
stuck with us for a real minute. These are more positive stories, I think, right? I mean, I guess shouts out to these Sacramento Kings trying to do what they're trying to do, man. If they don't win tonight, my kids were both my kids are up in Oregon right now for spring break. They were supposed to go to the game. I don't
Mm,
know what they're doing. They probably they said they were going to Chuck E. Cheese or something. Man, they could be at the game right now against the Trailblazers when the Kings finally, after 17 years, make it into the playoffs.
hmm
Score right now, 29-26, Kings over the Trailblazers. It's still early. It's only in the second quarter, but that would be pretty dope, right? We've been lighting the
Uh,
beam around here quite a bit. It would be pretty dope for the Kings to make a
it's
playoff.
overdue. It's overdue, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Kings, man. I wish them the best in getting there, and then let's see how it sorts off in the playoffs. But
Yeah.
they're straight. They're gonna get
Hey,
in there.
well, they didn't win the other night, and then Golden State messed around and won last night. Klay Thompson with the dagger near the end of the game. So we'll see what happens. They got two opportunities against these
Mhm.
against these Trailblazers to try to go ahead and solidify that playoff run. So that good luck to them on that. And back to basketball, man. You watching these NCAA tournaments? You've been what? I've been glued.
Yeah, San Diego State, baby. Final
Shouts out, man!
four. What's
Shouts
the
out to
final
the
four?
Atlas. Hey, I was at the Vegas airport coming back home from a trip to Vegas, and I saw the team as they just won their round of 32, and they came in with their
Uh,
banners and everything, and they were hyped. And I said, right at
yeah.
that moment, I'm gonna be rooting for San Diego State. Them Aztecs are doing what they need to do.
Hey,
However, there is a school called Florida Atlantic
yes.
that nobody
Yes.
that was on nobody's bracket. Florida
Yep.
Atlantic is playing San Diego State this Saturday.
Yep.
I like the story, man. I like they
I,
the ninth seed coming up. It's gonna be a
I
game
love it.
though.
I love that the ninth seed that ever made. I think they're one of the only ninth seeds that ever make it to the Final Four. And they're a good team, but I mean, if I'm gonna go for somebody, I'm gonna go for the West Coast
Oh, there
over
we
the
go.
South. I,
Okay, so
I think a better question you need to pose:
yeah,
Does the state of Florida now have the best basketball? because they got Miami and FAU in the Final
Yeah,
Four.
them Hurricanes. Yeah, the
So
men and the women's side. The
so
women
does the state of
was hot. Yeah, I thought
so
they was
does,
gonna go through.
does the state of Florida have the best basketball?
Man,
Because
you don't know what you're talking about.
you got to put it where it's at. We talk about Alabama all year. They talk about
Yeah.
people in the Texas. They talk
Now you
about
overreaching.
California.
You
No, I'm
overreaching.
not even. How you gonna say you got two
You
teams
so
from the same
crazy.
state in the Final Four?
You so
How's that
crazy.
overreaching?
I
And
don't
they
know.
and Florida's been producing teams for the last several tournaments that make it advance over everybody. So my question is, does Florida have the best basketball in basketball?
We'll see.
You got to ask yourself that because they've been
We'll
making it to
see.
the Final Four, to the Elite Eight for the last couple of years.
I'm just gonna be stubborn and just keep throwing, just deflecting, right? You keep coming up with common sense. I'm just gonna keep deflecting here, and
Hey
let these
man,
Warriors fans keep talking.
I'm just asking the question. I mean, but I'm going for San Diego. I hope San Diego wins. I'm
Yeah,
going for California plus the town. San Diego. I want them to win it all. Good luck to the Aztecs. They got their work cut out for them though, for sure.
they got their work cut. So I'm gonna say in the Miami UConn game, I'm going for them Hurricanes. I do want
Correct.
Miami to pull that through, but again, I like the story on the men's side. I like what Florida, but yeah, San Diego State, man. Again, just because I had that little engagement and interaction with them in the airport, I'm a root for them. But let's talk about these women. Let's talk about Friday the 31st. If you doing something, postpone it, because LSU and Virginia Tech are playing. That's going to be a good game. I like the coach for LSU. She
South
man.
Carolina running through everybody. You can talk
But
about all you want.
but then
South
let's talk
Carolina gonna
about
run through
Iowa,
everybody.
and let's talk about Don Staley and them South Carolina Gamecocks.
Yeah.
Can't
Yeah,
nobody beat
I mean
South
Iowa has
Carolina.
that young lady who's the bomb. She's the I forgot her name.
Caitlin Clark.
Yeah,
They call
Caitlin
her
is the
Miss B.
beast.
Yeah, she tough.
But
Triple double
I
last
don't know
game.
I don't know if one can beat five though. It's her against
I don't know
against
if one can
Carolina.
beat five. Let's boy,
Yeah,
watch your tone
she's
now.
gonna stop playing, and she has a lot of role players behind her. But South Carolina got a bunch of all stars around them.
And they
I don't think she's gonna be
6'7".
enough to beat them. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't think she's gonna be enough to beat them. So I think South Carolina's gonna advance on that end. On the
yeah,
other end, I think LSU's gonna advance
yeah,
against
yeah,
Virginia Tech, and I
yeah.
think it's gonna be the third. I think it's the third go around. LSU versus South Carolina.
Man,
That's
that's
gonna
gonna
be because
be
they're both in the SEC. That's going to be the class of the Titans to go ahead and play for that championship. And I see South Carolina coming up on top. Don Staley is she's a legend in the game, right?
yeah,
She's
yeah.
just,
She about to do it again. She about to do it again. And yeah, my
yeah,
Virginia Tech right out of Virginia. But they up there. But LSU they some dogs. Man, they
yeah, they got, I
trying to
mean,
win. So that's
it's going
gonna be
it's
good to see.
that's going to be an impressive game. I think that's going to be matter of fact, I think that's going to be a more competitive game than the men's, to be honest with
Yes,
you. I can't even
yes.
lie. I think that if LSU faces South Carolina in the championship,
My
that's going to
goodness.
be a dog fight to the end to see who wins it.
All right. We got it recorded. We've made our predictions after the series, and when we get to the championship game, we'll come back. I'll replay this tape and let you know when you were wrong, and
Okay, okay.
I was correct. I don't know. We'll come up with the betters.
I
I
got
don't know.
the Aztecs and the Gamecocks winning it all.
Hey, okay, I got to, but I do too. All right, we'll figure something out.
Well, good minds think alike, brother.
There'll have to
Great
be a
minds think
line bet or
alike.
something. Maybe maybe Clayton Clark won't get a triple double. We'll figure something out.
Absolutely.
LSU and Bayou Barbie. I love it. All right, brother, we did it tonight, man. I appreciate everyone for hanging with us for a few extra minutes, right? Because we had to get into it.
Yep.
We had to talk about some things, and we had to get it off our chest, and we're glad that you guys engaged with us as well. I know folks were watching from a lot of different locations, but I know some of the folks came off of Twitter, like I asked, and appreciate that. Come over to YouTube to comment, so appreciate that. What about the MLB division winners with opening day tomorrow? Yeah, we'll get into that, man, because I'm a big
We're gonna
Sergio
have the next
Romo
week.
dude, and I was really moved by his retirement. Coming back to the Giants and doing that thing. But Montel, go ahead and take us home, man.
Hey, be comfortable having uncomfortable conversations. You guys be safe out there.
That's it, y'all. We out. Do your thing.